Welcome to Core Concepts from Dent Gaming. Let's see this build. Hey guys, what is up? I've got another build for you. This one was actually sent in by a viewer. Goes by the name of Ronin's Ghost 108, I believe. I'm working off memory. Anyway, he sends me a message. He says, boom, I have a build for you to try. I've called mine Ordinal Scale. Feel free to change it if you'd like. And then he goes on to list all the parts. And then he says, have fun at the end. And I got to be honest, initially, I did not have fun with this build. I went against Freud and died. Yikes. Yeah, I was very upset about that. And then I realized it's not the build. It's the pilot, because this thing definitely has the makings of something really, really fun. So I went and analyzed what could the problem be. I went back to the build and just kind of looked at it for a little while, and then it dawned on me I was misusing the Kurosawa in this particular build, in this particular battle, because this is a very, very versatile, very, very flexible frame, and I think that's what he meant by have fun. He meant have fun exploring all the avenues in which you can blow stuff up. And let's go ahead and dig into it. So we've got the Kurosawa right here. This is a very, very potent multi-energy rifle, the only multi-energy rifle in this game. Anyway, so it's got three types of attacks. A rapid fire plasma. It's got a single quick charge laser shot should you decide to use it. And then it's got a little bit more of a potent, charge shot, which looks a little something like this. And that charge shot, ladies and gentlemen, is actually devastating. Like, holy crap, devastating. We got a full charge factor, 2522, impact of 1930. There are some blades out there that don't have that kind of impact. Like I was saying, the initial uncharged shot is actually very, very fast. Got a rapid fire 3.4. So that is actually a little bit of the versatility that I'd like to get into with this build. So if you're facing a faster opponent, just blasting plasma at him isn't the way to go. But if you are fighting an opponent that's a little bit on the chunkier side, you can charge the Kurosawa and do massive damage. Like if you're going against a Caterpillar, charging this thing is the way to go. Sure, you can spray him down, but hitting with that big blast is a lot of fun and a lot easier to do since they can't dodge as well. So that is one thing to consider with this build, is you can use this weapon in many, many different ways. So moving on, the other arm is the Scudder, which is actually a pretty straightforward weapon. It only has one mode of attack, and that is rapid fire rifle. Its effective ideal range is pretty nice. It's just out of close range and barely into medium range. Then an effective range all the way out to long range. 300 units out is actually fairly long range in my opinion. Not to mention good reload time and a decent rapid fire rate of 2.9 to boot. Now, one thing I did discover while I was tinkering a little bit is if you put on the Turner, all of these go up in a good way. Your ranges don't go down by much. And yes, these do drop, but you add on a lot more rapid fire, which definitely adds on a lot more pressure. You get 3 extra shots per mag. So this is something to consider if you are building this build. You can get away with running the Scudder. The Scudder's perfectly fine AR. AR meaning assault rifle, not armor light rifle like it does in real life, but AR as an assault rifle. So these are kind of interchangeable in my opinion. I'm going to opt to run the one he went for because he's probably got a lot more build time on this build than I do. I literally just built it and started tinkering. I've probably been playing around with it for about an hour now. And I really have grown to appreciate this unit's flexibility when it comes to combat. So that is pretty straightforward. You just hold the trigger down and blast them. Personally, Now, this is just me, but personally, as a pilot, I like for things that I have to hold the trigger down on to be on the right, or I'm sorry, on the right arm, just because it's easier for me with my middle finger just to hold it down, because I'm on PC, so mouse is a little bit easier just to hold your finger down. I don't normally like using double triggers because then I gotta go like this, and it's kind of hard to hold the mouse and double trigger, not like a controller, which I believe this viewer is on Xbox. So yeah, controller, that definitely makes it a little bit more fun. But for me, I think I'm gonna go ahead and swap them. If I add this to my repertoire, I'd probably swap those two things around. Other than that, that's just pilot preference. You guys do you. You guys are all probably better pilots than me. Not gonna lie, I'm not that great. I just enjoy the game enough to make videos about it. So anyway, moving on to the back right weapon, we are running the VVC 700 LD or the 700 laser drone. These are the same drones that Freud uses. Pretty straightforward. They fly out and they shoot and they cause all kinds of mayhem, or you can charge them, which is kind of cool. Then they 3 combine into 2, or 6 combine into 2, and then they hit a lot harder. So yeah, a lot harder being they go from 288 and 6 to 1370 and 2, which also again adds to that versatility. So like I was saying earlier, if you're going against a faster opponent, probably just want to shoot those out and get it over with. Maybe tuck behind cover. If you're fighting a slower opponent, charge them up, shoot them out, get behind cover, or just, if they're slower, just pick on them a little bit. Yeah, anyway, a lot of versatility there. Moving on to the back left, which is the Moonlight. And he was very, very specific. He said, the Moonlight, not the Redshift. And at first I was like, well, why would you not want the Redshift? That actually does kind of play into the versatility of the craft again. So I think this particular pilot, Ronin's Ghost, enjoys the versatility. And I bet you he's had a lot of luck in ranked and multiplayer because of his love of versatility. So yeah, when I first looked at these, I was like, why would you not want to just have the dual beam, just have it there as a quick swap, and then you punish, and then you throw it in the back? Because you don't. Honestly, if you can charge this thing up against an opponent and you can hit them with that attack power and that nice impact, why the frick not? And you still got the capability of throwing the twin slashes just like that. So you can do a single slash if you want to just throw one out and then be back on your way, or if you have the opportunity to do that, or big blast attack, which I love about that. I actually equipped this blade on a lot of my builds. I love the charge attack power of this. But then I dug into it a little bit further, and I actually discovered something about the game I didn't know, so thank you, Ronin's Ghost. Yeah, I did not know that the cooling wasn't as good on the Redshift Moonlight. I did not know that. So you actually, again, moving back onto the versatility of the platform, you actually can get this back faster after a big hit, which is kind of crazy considering that the big hit on this is bigger than the big hit on the Redshift. So that's kind of cool and good to know. Yeah, moving on. Main battle strategy. I actually am not going to say the main battle strategy because it's going to alternate. So if you're running against faster opponents, then you're going to be using the single shot of the Moonlight or the double shot should you have the opportunity. You're going to be spraying them with just the single charge on the laser drone, and you're going to be just absolutely peppering them up with your Scudder and your Kurosawa at no charge or at a single charge. You can charge it for a punish, but I would highly recommend just spraying either, just no charge. If you're facing kind of a middle ground opponent, which is this is actually kind of a mid-weight build in my opinion. It's a mid-weight build using heavier weight weapons. So it is a little bit on the slower side, but it capitalizes on its versatility and weaponry, as I've gone over before. If you're facing against a mid opponent, you can you kind of have to feel them out. So I think, in my opinion, a mid-weight opponent would probably be this thing's kryptonite because it has so many options. It's hard to choose just one. But I think if it's a mid-weight that's a little bit on the faster side, you just pepper them up. If it's a little mid-weight on the slower side, maybe you could single charge your Kurosawa to do additional damage, or maybe you could fully charge it. I don't know. You have to just kind of play that one by ear, which is kind of fun. And then, like I was saying earlier, if you're going against a heavier opponent, charge everything. Hit them as hard as you can, because chances are if you're facing a heavier opponent, they can also hit hard. So you're going to have to be mobile, and you're going to have to hit just as hard as they do in order to stay in the fight and win it. You're going to have to win the damage race and the stagger race, which is going to be hard. But speaking of stagger race, let's go ahead and move into the frame. We are running the VP44D head, and this is one of my favorite heads in the game. The one thing I don't like... Two things I don't like about this head. Two things I don't like about this head part. Right here, kinetic defenses. But if you notice here, overall, kinetic defense is really, really good. He's got a generous defense setup here. 1100 is solid mid-level, or mid-weight defense. So that is fine that it's that low. It does have a good AP to compensate, and other parts that have higher kinetic defenses to help compensate for that. The other thing I don't like about this head part is the system recovery dead at 100. I mean, you can't fault it, but also it's not doing you any benefits. That's kind of like saying 0, in my opinion. It really doesn't do anything. It doesn't protect. It's not accelerated. Sure, it could be worse, but it definitely has a lot of room to be better. Things I do like about this head part is the higher AP, the third best stability in the game for all the head parts. These aren't so bad. I don't really like the standby time being 10 seconds, but you've got a nice lower weight and a nice low EN load for all these stats, so it's fine. Definitely doable. Solid choice. The only two head parts being better in stability is going to be the Case War and then the Mind Beta. And that would get the stability up by 2 if you went with the Case War, and then by... come on. By that much. So 40? 40? Yeah. If you went with this one. And you'd stay here, your defenses would go up, but it does affect your explosive defenses. And your AP. But overall, definitely a good choice. I actually, in this instance... out of habit, I might put the Mind Beta on, but if I were to do something tried and true, I think eventually I would evolve to go for the 44D, because it honestly, overall, it is better than the Mind Beta. So, anyway, Orbiter Core. So, as soon as I saw Orbiter Core, I was like, bruh. But then I looked at it. So yeah, booster efficiency basically 0. It doesn't add, but it doesn't take away. A generator, it does add a little bit, and then there's a big takeaway from supply, but that's okay because we're hovering right about here. Now, me personally, I do like that the stability on this is at a 407, and overall the stability is 1809, which is really good. Those Mind Alpha legs are really putting in work. My initial instinct was to put this on. Like I said, why is he not just running the Alba? I mean, he gets the balance defense, he gets a higher AP, he'd be faster. Yeah, this hurts a little bit, but whatever. If you were to put this on and then maybe switch from the Scudder to go to the Turner, you'd kind of have that versatility, and you get a really good booster adjust, and you'd lose, but you lose a lot of stability. And that's the one thing that I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. And then I was like, well, what about the Fermiza? You know, if you do the Fermiza, it's even lighter. It's got higher stability. It's got decently balanced defense, but you do lose that AP. Sure, you're faster. Sure, you're a little bit better, but your charge time goes to 2. Now, me personally, if I were to build this build, I probably would put the Fermiza on. But, again, that is personal preference. It really only raises the freaking stability by 3. I mean, but the speed does go up, and so does the QB. So does the EN consumption for your QB goes down as well, which is kind of huge in your recharge delay. It only goes up by 0.07, so 700ths of a second. And you get a better supply efficiency. So this wouldn't be a bad choice if you wanted to get away from the Orbiter Core. But overall, the Orbiter Core does put out really, really good baseline stats. Honestly, I did not know. I don't use the Orbiter Core a lot, but the kinetic defense on here is actually super solid for the weight. Like super solid. The energy defense I wish was just a little higher, like maybe in the 375 range, but you know, overall not bad. Like I was saying, stability could be better. It is actually, you think it's a midweight, but it's actually a heavy lightweight. So it's more of like, it's in between that light midweight and that, you know, heavy lightweight. It's kind of like in that window. So you can't really knock its stats too bad. It is a solid core overall. Moving on, he's running the VP46Ss, and at first I was like, bruh, why? But again, I dug into it a little bit more. So if you are running the Kurosawa, so mainly you use the Scudder for spray. No matter what, the Scudder's just going to be shooting. So if they're a slower opponent, that Scudder's just going to build up. But if they're a faster opponent, that Scudder's going to be there to apply pressure. And then I was reminded of the Kurosawa. So the Kurosawa, yeah, it's got that spray, the plasma explodes. So it's actually got AoE damage, which is cool. So you don't really need a higher firearm specialization. You just need it to be 100 or better, and that is exactly where this is. Now the recoil is nice because that keeps the Scudder in control, and you can still fire the Kurosawa, which is nice. But the melee specialization, I think, is what he was really after, to really boost that Moonlight and really lay a hurting on people if you wanted to. So yeah, if you're looking to make a little bit lighter of a weight version of this AC, you could swap to these, which does a very, very good job as well, but it messes up your defenses. And then, yeah, that's probably why he went with this. Not to mention balanced defenses and AP on these arms. They are a little bit on the weighty side, but they are very good at EN control, which is nice. And then, I think I said Mind Alpha legs. That's probably because I'm really used to saying that. I think I said Mind Alpha earlier, but yeah, he is actually running the HAL legs. Sorry, to me, these two legs are basically interchangeable. The Mind Alpha and the HAL. With a little bit of benefit going to the HAL, and they are a little bit less weight than the Mind Alphas, but they don't have as good a defenses as Mind Alpha, nor as good a AP. So yeah, it depends on your personal preference. If you want that extra stability, you want that higher load limit, you want that less weight and the less EN, yeah, the HALs are the way to go. And I think for this platform, these were the better choice. So yeah, they do exactly what you need them to do, and that is hold everything up and give you a good stability, or actually one of the best stabilities for the mid-weights, in my opinion. Yeah, HAL legs, definitely a solid choice. S-tier leg part there. Moving on to the internals, we got the NGI 001. So this is what bothers me about this build. So your standard boost speed is 297, and then your QB speed is 352. That is a huge bump, and that is what the NGI 001s are good at. Initially, when I was piloting this, I didn't like how slow it was. I didn't like that when I QB'd, I still got hit by spread bazooka when I was fighting Freud. But then I realized I was playing it wrong. So one of the key aspects to remember when you're fighting people, be it PvP or PvE, is if you counter boost, say you're going clockwise around your opponent and then they shoot and you just boost and you stay going in that clockwise direction, yeah, it's actually not nearly as effective as if you switch to a counterclockwise direction. So boost to the right instead. It is a huge. You just make people miss very, very badly that way. And that is a key element to remember when you are piloting this craft, is to counter boost every time you need to QB and dodge. And you actually don't get hit too awfully much if you stick to that strategy with this booster. He is running the Talbot in here, which I both agree and disagree with. So the laser drones are kind of weird. The missile lock correction does affect how quickly the laser drones lock on, but I do not believe it accounts for the accuracy. So if you wanted to move to something that was a little bit better at close range, you definitely could do that. Or if you wanted to move something with better medium range, you could definitely run something like that. But I believe this is a solid overall choice with the Talbot. So yeah, definitely a good call there. Yeah, a VE20C generator being ran in this, and the only reason I could see he's running that is for the firearm spec, which is I want to say the third best in the game, just behind second best in the game. I digress. Yeah, second best. Yep, second best in the game. So I was wrong off the top of my head. You know, I guess I was wrong. Second best in the game underneath the 20B, but you can't run the 20B because load is way too high on this at 37.35. But the 20C does get it done. You do have a little bit of problem with the recharge being that high, but like I was saying, if you QB the right way, it's not that big of a deal. That's also another reason to run the Fermizan generator, that means you can QB more often. I digress. Orbiter works just fine. All right, Pulse Armor. Yeah, makes solid sense. It's the only expansion pack that actually gets rid of your built-up stagger. Why they don't do that on all of them, I don't know. It would make perfect sense. But, yeah, not to mention you get a force field that hangs around on you and you can continue to chase or run away from the enemy as applicable. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. That is the build. That is the battle strategy. I will go over the paint job just this once. So he didn't give me like a color scheme. I chose orange and purple just because it kind of made sense to me. And if you look, the purple's got a little bit of extra blue in it. That's to account for basically I modeled it after the weapons. So yeah, that's why I chose that, because this puts out orange and this puts out like a bluey purpley color. So that's why I chose orange and purple. Then I went with silver because silver, I got nothing. Anyway, build and battle strategy. Let me show you guys what this thing can do. Come here, Freud. Alright guys, be gentle on me. This is only like my third or fourth time using this build, but like I was saying, Freud is a little bit faster of an opponent, so you want to stay a little bit more mobile, and then make sure you counter boost. Look at his damage already. Switch to the Scudder and just light him up. He should be... Oh, you jerk face. You jerk face. So I love the boosters on this thing, I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of fun. Oh, did he get me with the blade there? Yep, counter boost again. Yeah, I'm just absolutely eating this boy up. I'm going to show you guys what the actual charge on this thing does with the Moonlight when he's nice and high like that. Almost an instantaneous stagger. Oh, that's just chewing him up. That's just chewing him up. That was just uncalled for. He's coming in for it, and... Oh, he got the kick! Oh, it's too late. My drone's got him. Oh. Sad face. Alright guys, as always, I'm going to provide the share information for this build. Share ID going to be AU9PFNQSRW1P. If you like it, take it. It is all yours. Just remember, it was brought to you by Ronin's Ghost 108 and not me. I had an absolute blast using this big giant robot to blow stuff up. Please like and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.